Hello, my name is Andy and I am the village idiot, and a man with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. Would you just look at that great Lincolnshire open countryside, and in the distance you can see a wood over there. Now that doesn't fall within this parish, but you can definitely see it from here. It's a massive wood and we'll get to that in a few episodes time. But today we're in a very tiny village on the bank of the River Trent, once again another one which won't take me very long to do. This is Wildsworth. Wildsworth is a village and civil parish in the West Lindsey districts of Lincolnshire, again situated on the eastern bank of the River Trent as we work our way north. We are now approximately 5 miles north of Gainsborough. The population of Wildsworth is very small and it's included within the civil parish of East Ferry. Wildsworth is not mentioned in the Domesday Book, although an earlier settlement is indicated by finds of 2nd to 4th century Roman pottery and building material here. Later evidence of settlement at Wildsworth is in late 12th century documentation. An early 14th century chapel is recorded as founded, although no ground evidence for this and the medieval settlement have ever been found. It was only in the 19th century that Wildsworth's size and population through censuses was indicated. Previously observed crop marks in the area show evidence of channels and banks associated with post-medieval warping, a method of controlling flooding of farmland to increase fertility, something that's very common out here, as was briefly alluded to in the East Stockwith episode. In 1870 to 1872, Wildsworth was described as being a hamlet within the parish of Laughton, with a population of 150 in 27 houses. That population has since decreased rather than increased. In 1885, Kelly's directory reported a population of 130. By 1921, this had decreased to 111. Occupations-wise, the village was predictably agricultural, and in fact it consisted of 10 farmers. It still remains agricultural to this day. The name Meynell has some significant meaning here. One of Wildsworth streets is named Meynell Street. It's a name you'll see a bit in this part of Lincolnshire. The Meynell name is to do with Wildsworth's former school. The school was built in 1875 at a cost of £200 and it was provided by the Honourable Mrs Meynell-Ingram, Lady of the Manor of Laughton. The school had provision for 80 children, but it only had an average attendance of 35. Wildsworth contained 2 chapels, both primitive and Wesleyan Methodist. It had seemingly blown over in the wind, but here is a sign showing that we're only 10 miles away from Kidby Bridge, one of the 2 ways to get over the Trent from here. Of course, Wildsworth was the location of one of the 10 ferries that cross the Trent. On the opposite bank of the river here, albeit slightly to the south, is Gunthorpe. There are no amenities of note. There is no shop or post office, but there are bus services, the same ones that serve East Stockwith, and there's also a defib machine as well on this wall. There's no demographic information for Wildsworth other than its size. It covers 4.2 square kilometres. The average house here sells for £337,000. Well, this is interesting, people. You know how I do a little tiny bit of research before I come here? I wonder what this is. This didn't come up in any research at all. It looks to me like it's a demolished church, because if you see, look, we've got an old graveyard there and then a new bit further on, and over here we've got the remains of a wall. Here, look, I don't know whether I'm allowed on this land here, I'm not quite sure, but I'll not go too far in. That looks like the remains of an old church. And I was right. Wildsworth had a chapel of ease to St John, built in 1838 to a design by Charles Biggs. It was of white brick in a Norman style, comprising a chancel and a nave, and a tower with one bell. The late Lady William Gordon had provided for the chapel building at a cost of £450. When it was restored in 1908, the cost of £1,000 was provided by another Meynell, Frederick George Lindley Meynell. The graveyard remains, but the church was demolished before the year 2000. Now, I was just about to leave Wildsworth behind and move on to my next one when I noticed this. Now, you might remember the Ouston Ferry episode in North Lincolnshire and the pumping station that we saw there, the pumping engine, as it were. Well, this is something very similar. This is the Jenny Hearn pumping station. The Jenny Hearn pumping station is right on the border between Wildsworth and East Ferry, situated at the point where something called the Laughton Outfall Drain, or Jenny Hearn Drain, joins the Trent. It's managed by the North of Gainsborough Water Management Board, whose responsibilities include managing the Trent's water levels and flood risks. There are flood walls all along the Trent at varying intervals. I have no idea why or how the drain or the pumping station earned the name Jenny Hearn. Do any Wildsworth locals know the answer to this? Regardless, this was a nice way to end, as this is located at a large meander in the Trent's course, with a great view over the river to North Lincolnshire. And there you have it, that's the parish of Wildsworth. And there's no point giving you a picture bit today because there isn't really much more to tell you about or show you. So there you go. What a lovely place on the bank of the River Trent. And you can see Ouston Ferry across there in the distance as well. It's a cracking view from here. And it's time to move on to my next one, which won't take me very long to get to because, as I told you in the voiceover, this is the boundary right here between this one and the next one. So I shall see you there. This has been the parish of Wildsworth, and I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I am out.